Okay, welcome guys. So that was our first partnership with AI, and that was with Sentry. And so now I will talk to you about DeepStack. Okay, as always, I put all the content now on the forums, so it's up there. So just go to Blue Iris, tips and tricks, DeepStack plus Blue Iris, and I still have the other stuff too. Like, I mean, Ken cranked this out pretty quick, right? Like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I did the webinar on AI tool. It's still up there, the content, if you're interested. We're kind of deciding about the recording because we're kind of we think I think once you see today's integration, you'll like it even better. So, so let me start. So he talked about the AI benefits, to reduce the false alerts, improve the accuracy. And so all you folks out in Florida that keeps pinging me about the flies and the birds and the sunlight, AI should really help solve that problem, reduce those false alerts. So that's the benefit of AI, and it's all like Ken and the web team and the mobile app team, like they all got all the annotations in. So it's a very consistent, very informative interface on whatever modality you're using, mobile, web, or console. So you get the icons, you'll get the flags, and then you'll get, if the object that you're trying to detect, like say you're trying to detect your dog, we don't have an icon for that, you get the green checkbox. So that's kind of the way it works. And let me, I'll talk about flags a little bit more later. I like them on. If you use flags for some other purpose, like for exporting, you might have, some level of conflict. So I don't have that scenario. I don't use flags for anything else. So I like it on for AI just because when I'm on my mobile app and I filter on flagged alerts, I see all the AI alerts right away. Boom, 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 boom. And I really like that feature. So I have flags on, but something to keep in mind. Okay, so let me just break down all the icons. So there's person, there's car, the green check is for all the other objects that you may want to detect. And I'll talk about what else you can detect in a second. In terms of the flags, I just talked about that. So I like them on. It's a user preference thing. It helps you filter really quickly and really easily. Canceled, nothing found. So there's canceled as well. And I show it, well, I'm gonna talk about cancel a little bit more later, but there's an icon for it. So when the AI didn't find anything, or they say, or actually, it's a really good debugging tool as well, because once you have the cancel icons, you can go back and look at all the alerts, because at the end of the day, Blue Iris, like AI is an additive. So all the stuff in the past where you had a trigger and you had to record, like all that information is still there in Blue Iris. So one thing good about the canceled is if you can see for yourself if the AI didn't catch something, and so you can realize for yourself like what the threshold should be, as well as like the reality is like AI isn't perfect. It's not as smart as a human ever, and so you'll see what the limitations are. So it's a good learning tool. So something to keep in mind. Occupied state, this is all part of the software now. So occupied state is all about like if you got an alert and then you got another alert. So that's when you get the time icon, okay? And so the algorithm that can use to determine occupied state is plus or minus. So if the object, like, all right, so this is, all right, let me just describe the scenario for a second. So this is a perspective, like this camera is trying to face the entranceway of this office complex, right? But the reality is like part of the street is in the frame, right? And so if there's an object like in this case in particular, a car is identified there, like I would clean this up. Like I would just have the zone. I'll talk about zones and cleaning this up and filtering later, but I would just exclude that area, which you can easily do with Blue Iris. But that being said, like in this scenario, that car is there, and then like 8:08:17, like 15 seconds later, another car showed up. And so because it's pretty much in the same location, that's what this static object is like. It's like it's saying like, this is, the software thinks it's a parked car. Okay, basically, it's like the same object. It's the same object plus or minus 10% of confidence level. It's around the same location plus or minus 5% of the previous location, and the current setting is 1 hour. So like within the hour, a car was pretty much located the same location, which means to the software that it's probably a parked car. So that's what static objects is about. So like, you know, all the things that are in front of your house, or all the things that are like in a parking lot that is persistent. This is the algorithm used to like determine like that, and not keep re-alerting on that. So like static objects, parked cars, those types of things. Okay, and so from another user actually, and this use case identifies it perfectly as well. If you look carefully, like they're not actually the same car, right? This is white, this is a different color. And so then Ken added color heuristics as well. So to provide static object accuracy even further, color is accounted for now. So Ken's cranking away, as you guys know, Ken cranks away like every day at this, and the product's always being improved based up mostly off of your feedback. So keep the tickets and the feedback coming. So that's what the gotcha was. So I like to put the gotchas. So that's what that gotcha was with object color. And even though it's a different car, it was defined as static before, but with the new algorithm, with the color being put in it, this should be fixed. Okay, and it's a setting as well. So I'll talk about the settings and camera settings in a second. So you can uncheck it, and so why would you uncheck it? I think we put this in here based off of Ken's feedback because there was a user, and it's all based off of user feedback, and they had a camera in their driveway, and anytime somebody would pull up in the driveway, the camera would always trigger like at the front of the driveway, just kind of like this scenario. Like this is when the camera sees the car, right? And so it was saying it's a static object all the time when somebody was pulling up into that guy's driveway, and it wasn't. It was actually a different car. And so the color should fix it. However, if it still doesn't fix it and you're still having problems, you can just turn it off. So that's what this is about, this gotcha. Okay, the annotations and the color. So like this is blue, this is orange, and then there's some yellows in here. What does it mean? These are the thresholds. So orange means high level, above 67%. Yellow means less than 67%. Blue means occupied state. We found it, but we canceled the alert because of occupied state. And then red means it was canceled because you said to cancel it. Like for example, like the use case is, say you have a dog and you want to do for your house, when you leave the house, you want person detection, right? Because obviously if a burglar comes in, you want to be known. But you may want alerts about your dog just like on the UI, but you probably don't want to get notified on it, right? Like if the dog goes out, out the back door, do you want to get an alert on it? Probably not. And so that ability to cancel it is part of the software. And if you do choose to cancel it, it comes up as red instead of red instead of the other colors. Okay. And then in addition to static objects and all that stuff I just explained, all these algorithms, to make it even more smart, Ken's overlapping now. So like this is just fixed static objects completely. So like if the AI detection doesn't overlap with the motion, it won't send the alert. So like so that overlap allows you to provide, identify what the camera sees as motion and then make sure that the detection is associated with that. If it's not, then obviously it's something else in the scene that's irrelevant to what you're concerned about. And so that logic is in there as well. So there's a lot of behind the scenes logic that really makes the overall alerts and solution very effective. Alerts, no alerts on specific objects. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So like the dog scenario. you can fine tune your alerts. So like if you want a push notification, like the default is if you send a push notification, it's gonna be on all the objects. You can skip the dog, or you can say like, give me. You can list the ones you want to be alerted on as well. So that granularity and what you're getting notified on from a mobile perspective is all in the product. So that's really super cool. Okay, some of the more board. So that's a user interface. So I hope from this checkpoint, I just want to make sure you guys get it, that this is the UI. It gives you a lot more intelligence. It can provide you a lot more smarter alerts. And so, and it just provides, it just alleviates a whole bunch of headaches with all that stuff with wind, sunlight, rain, all that stuff. You just light up AI and you get all these benefits like right away. So that's the UI. So now I'm gonna go to some of the details, more boring stuff. How do you do the, how do Ken do the integration, Blue Wires to DeepStack? If you were here 3 weeks with AI tool, there's like an AI tool software in between. A lot of that software has been pushed into Blue Iris. And the install. So they provide a lot of flexibility. So you can, if you go to DeepStack, I provide the link. You have to do your own research on how to install it. You can run it on Docker. Some customers running on Docker, like as a container on your, like say on a Mac or something. You can run it directly on your CPU. You can run it on your GPU if you have a GPU. So there's a lot of choices here. So choose what works for you. As far as what I did, I have a GPU. I have an NVIDIA GPU, and they support NVIDIA libraries. So they say, just a caveat here, just some information that I've discovered is, even though DeepStack says they need version 10.2, I just downloaded the latest 11.2, and it works fine. So I think just download the latest libraries if you're doing NVIDIA GPU acceleration, and it's super fast. Like you'll see in the status now, like Ken also included their response time. That's like 50 milliseconds. Like I can do one camera at 15 frames per second if I wanted to, but I have more than one camera, so obviously you don't want to do that much sampling. But if you have the right hardware, you can do a lot of samples to improve the accuracy of your alerts. Okay. So once you install DeepStack, it's really easy. So specify which port to use for DeepStack. Don't use 81. Well, there's a web server for Blue Iris, as most of you guys know. That's the default is 81. So don't use 81. I think Ken set the default for DeepStack at 83, but you can choose whatever you want. I chose 5432. Just, I don't know. I just came in my head. No reason why. So once you install it, you specify where it's located, the port. I install DeepStack in its default locations. See DeepStack. If you specify new location, tell Blue Wires accordingly, and then you just push the button start, and then click on the link test in browser, and that link will bring up the activation, confirm the activation. So this is how you know DeepStack is running correctly. Okay, and I'm playing with facial recognition. My cameras aren't great for facial recognition, so like a lot of you guys are playing with it much more than I have, and I get most of my feedback from you guys right now in regards to it, just because you guys have a lot of front door cameras. And so I'll talk about some of those scenarios and how to use facial recognition. So it's, just check it to turn it on, first of all. And then where do you want to store your unknown faces? So like, specify a folder. It could be new, it could be whatever. And I think I use like faces as my directory, but it doesn't really matter. All right, so now you got it installed. You're excited about using it. So let's go to the camera settings. So this is where it all comes together, like in terms of activating it. So just to be clear, this is a global setting. So let me just go to my Blue Iris so that's clear. So let me turn this off. Oops. If I go to global settings, AI, This is where you tell Blue Iris or DeepStack is located. That's the first step. And now I'm diving into, once you're in your cameras, if you want to turn off a particular camera, then you have to go to camera settings. So camera settings, trigger AI. So pretty consistent. Okay. So that's where I'm at. So what do you need to know? All right, so let me dive into this. It's a little tricky, but once you get used to it, you'll figure it out. So the tab of dialogue, I mean, so this is where you get the choices, right? So, you just heard from our partner Sentry. So, this is where you choose. Like, do you want to use Sentry? Do you want to use DeepStack? You want to try both? Whatever. Like, that's your option. So that's what you do, or don't choose any. And then on the bottom is what do you want? What do you want to do based off of the AI that regardless of whichever AI you're using? Okay. So that's the basic breakdown of the dialogue. The top half is choosing AI. The bottom half is what do you want to do once you've selected an AI? Like, what are the types of information you want to get out of it? Okay. And I'll break this down a little bit more. As far as the top half, so the default is person, car, truck, bus, bicycle, and boat. I mean, can just pick some stuff, and there's a whole bunch of stuff you can pick. So if you want to get alerted on the sandwich that was stolen from the kitchen counter, you can do so. So there's like a lot of random stuff here. So these are some of the more, I guess, more common ones that may be chosen, but you can just decide what you want here. Now I put unknown here because it's very understated in the documentation. So why I put this, I want to call this guy out, is just because when you're doing facial, like if you're doing the front door and you're doing facial recognition, I haven't played with it as much, so I don't know how accurate it is. But if you're doing it, oftentimes what you want is you're probably going to label all your homeowners, right? Like mom, dad, kids, blah, blah, blah. And then you probably want to get alerted on everybody else. So that everybody else is a tag called unknown. Okay. And so this is how, once you label everybody that you identify as people that employees, people that are coming to the house, that's the way you get the alerts on people that are unknown. So that's kind of, it's very simple, but it's very subtle, but it's very powerful. So just so you're aware of that. And all right, let me go back to the top now. So that's what unknown's about. So conference levels. So you can specify as low as 0 when you start, and you can just determine for yourself what the conference level should be for these based off of the performance. And what I mean by that is, just turn it on, and then you'll see the conference levels coming in for the alerts. Like these are all canceled. These are canceled. This car came in at 86%. Let me do the flag. Boom! I see all the alerts. This car came in at 86%, and I can filter by camera. So if I go to that's ADF. I go to camera ADF, filter on camera, like this is how you debug real time. ADF cameras, I have car detection, right? 88, 78, 73, 89, like, like it's pretty confident based off of the camera's perspective and what they're seeing. And so I could crank it up to, if I wanted to 86. Like, if I want to like reduce alerts and just be very confident, like reduce all the noise, I can crank this number up. 50 is probably a safe place to start. 0 is even a safer place to start, just to see like how it's behaving. But that's how you would figure out like what is the right number for you. You would go back to your alerts. Like the debugging is all in the product. So like just go back to your alerts and see when you like look at the ones that you caught. So that'll tell you what the upper limit is. But then also check the ones that you didn't catch, all the missed ones, right? Like if you missed something, you might have to lower the alerts, right? So that's the logic. Like this was missed, right? Like that car was missed. There's a car there. So this is how you find out like what like whether you need to increase it or reduce it just to make sure you get the alerts that you want. Okay, additional real-time images to analyze. So sampling. So this is what I mean by sampling. Like you can choose how the number. So like if you have your front door, the doorbell, like like maybe 1 or 2 is enough, because why would it trigger otherwise, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess it could depend on your environment, bugs, those types of things as well. I chose 5 here just because all it's saying is like my settings for my trigger, right? So usually I just keep pretty much defaults. Make time is 10 seconds. I want to sample every, so when I say 5, that means every second, like t equals 0, t equals 1, all of it equals 5, I'm gonna sample. So if I miss on the first one, I got 4 more shots to find whatever that car or whatever I'm looking for. So that's a really good number to tweak on. And this can be higher or lower depending on where the camera's positioned, right, and what you're trying to detect. And a common gotcha is like if you have a front door camera, and this always happens. So like if you just got the first frame, you would never catch anybody leaving the house, because that camera, like as soon as you open the door, the camera's going to trigger, and so that frame is just the door opening, and so the AI is going to say like no person, no alert. So in that's a very common scenario, and I highlighted here, where you probably have like 2 or 3 frames, because you kind of like, as you start going out the door, you'll realize how many frames you need to like capture the person. And so that's another common use case for having more than 1 image per alert. Okay. Okay. Unknown I talked about. So use it if you're using AI. Now for the actions. All right, so that's basically how you set up DeepStack on a per camera basis. Okay, these are the settings, and this is how you adjust it. Some of the thought process that I use. I'm learning as well. So like a lot of the stuff came from feedback from you guys. So so thank you for that. And then these are the tags. So all right, so now you got your camera set up. Now you want to be alerted on it. So some of these are fairly obvious. I'll walk through the obvious ones first. This one I'm gonna table for a second because it's a little bit more complicated, but once you get it, you get it. Replace alert email, SMS, text with status. So like, and that's kind of obvious. If you have AI going, like obviously if you're having email and SMS, you probably want the details. So what I mean by that is the email itself will tell you, like, all this stuff like car 7.72%. You probably want that in the email and maybe the annotation as well. So I have no idea like why you, if you had AI turned on, why you would have it unchecked, but there might be a reason. Hide canceled alerts on time. All right, so this is great. Once you're good with your settings, this is great because like I was debugging when I made the screenshot, and so I was. So I put the canceled in the clip list. So I have cancels in the alerts list. Okay, and when you're debugging, this is what you want, because you want to know when it's canceling as well as when it's finding, right? And so that way you can tweak your settings appropriately. However, once you're all good, you probably don't care about the cancel, because that's why you have the AI. You want the cancel ones to go away. And so once you're good with your settings and you're confident that the AI is set correctly, the default and the runtime is hide cancel alerts. All right, so now keep in mind, like hide does not mean deleted, okay? So the whole premise of Blue Iris, trigger, record, alert, the trigger record always happens. The only issue here is whether you see it immediately, like in the clip list, or do you go to, or do you just filter on cancel, like go to all your cancel alerts and find them. So nothing is ever not recorded. So that's a huge keep in mind takeaway, right? So the value of AI is additive, and in terms of accuracy, if AI isn't accurate, you're not losing a thing. Okay. Hide cancel alerts, burn label markup. All right, so like this, I just put a screenshot here. So like if you check this and in your alerts folder, if you want a hard copy of the image with the annotation. That's how you do it. You know, like a lot of, like, it depends on who you like, depends on the person, right? This is like a user setting. So like if you want hard copies like on your file system instead of just trusting the Blue Iris in the database, some people like that. You can do it. It's definitely optional. Definitely don't have to do it. I don't do it. So something to keep in mind. Apply to motion triggers only, I'll talk about in a second. Detect, ignore static objects. So this is what I was talking about earlier with static objects. For some reason, if you got that driveway that is still not sending alerts for that car that pulls up, you can just turn it off. I'm pretty sure this algorithm is pretty robust now for, you know, that Ken's created internally. But if it's still not working for you, just turn it off. Auto flag, and I talked about this. So like I like it because I don't use flags or anything else. So I like to filter, like when I'm on my mobile app especially, and I'm trying to like pound through the alerts, I like filtering on the flag and boom, 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 seeing all the relevant AI detected ones. Okay, so only thing I have left to explain to you guys is fire on alert functionality and apply to motion triggers. All right, so apply to motion triggers is fairly simple. So in general, like 99% of you guys are using triggers off of your cameras, right? However, Blue Iris is pretty sophisticated, right? You can trigger, you can tell your cameras record based off of other inputs. Like there's some sophisticated users out there that have like audio, you know, they have like micro audio inputs, like a microphone, like outside or something, and that sound will trigger, and you can have that sound, and that you know that speaker that's listening trigger your camera, and then you're recording, and then you can decide what you want it to do, right? So those types of things where you have, besides your camera and besides your trigger settings telling your camera record, there's other devices that you can use to tell the camera to record, right? So in that scenario, do you want the AI to still sample the recordings? And you probably do. So the default is it's off, which means like whatever the inputs are, like whenever you tell the camera to record, you probably want the AI to sample. So that's what the default setting is. But if for some reason you don't want it to sample the AI, I don't know a use case for it, but you can check this, and then the other objects like the speaker that's triggered this camera to record, it'll record, but the annotations won't be there. Okay, so it's just an option. I'm sure it came about because of a request from a user, but I don't know what the exact use case is for that. But once I find out, I'll definitely keep Bench's documentation. All right, fire on alert. So this is the last setting, and that is, so like I said before, like this is a very important concept that I'm trying to like, you know, get you guys to like understand. So, you know, the tabs in the camera settings is there for a specific reason. Like the way it's like laid out, like trigger, record, alerts. That's the way the software works. So you got the camera feeds coming in, you got your trigger settings, boom. Based off your settings, you found something of interest, and then boom, you tell it to record. Like it could be continuous recording. It could be recording all the time, but oftentimes you just record on trigger, right? So boom, boom, and then based off your alerts, you send the alerts out, right? That was like the way Blue Iris has been for like since like for a long time, right? Okay, so now the plot thickens with AI. So what do? With AI, we have the AI settings, and then we put the DeepStack. So, you know, it's the same with a couple more, you know, a couple more layers of complexity, a little bit, I guess. So the AI settings. So if you uncheck it, don't fire on alert, you can't check the bottom without checking the first. So like, and that'll make sense in a second. But like, if you have it unchecked, it's just basically doing Blue Iris before, but with AI. So what do I mean by that? So boom, motion, boom. You're checking your settings, and you're saying fire on alert is unchecked. So boom, you're still recording. So you have AI enabled. So like if you have like 5 images or 3 images, it's doing that from the stream, from the camera. It's sending 3 to 5 images to DeepStack. The answers are coming back, and as soon as based off of what those images say, like if all 3 say nothing found, then it goes back to the trigger. We update the clip list, like Ken updates the database, so the information is correct, whether it's canceled or if they found something. This is all updated, and there we go. So that's all updated, and then you send the alert. So there's like a little bit of a delay, maybe like depending how many images you got, like 3 to 5 or 1, like a 1 second delay. But regardless of what the AI decides, the alert is sent. So just like the original, boom, 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 delay, boom. Okay. So now this is what most people are going to do, like fire on alert, because obviously if you have AI, you want smarter alerts, right? So fire on alert is confirmed. Trigger, it's still recording. Keep that in mind. The image is being processed. The clip list is being updated. So all the information about the AI is being updated on the clip list. And then the alert is sent. Now, why is it dashed? It's based off of the confirmation. So if nothing was found, if it was canceled, there's no alert sent. If something was found, then the alert is sent. So it's all based off of the AI. And so that's what most people would want. So now there's this third setting. So why is this here? So this third setting is because say you're one of those sophisticated users, right? Like say you have the other devices that's triggering that camera, okay? Or just the opposite, like say you have other things happening after that camera is triggered. An example would be like all you guys out there that when the camera triggers, the gate opens. Like that's, the camera triggered and then you want the gate to open. Like that's a MQTT command, right? That follows up. That's a scenario where some of you guys may not want the alert. Like if there's a person found, you may not want to be notified on your phone, like the person, like all these person-based alerts, like email, SMS, push, like you don't want to be bothered. However, you still want the gate to open. So that's what this is about. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So fire all the non-person based alerts, basically all your triggers, all your other triggers based off of this camera trigger, you still want it to keep going. So that's what this third option is about. Okay, so that's pretty much all you can do right now with the alert, with the AI and leveraging that intelligence. Okay. Fine tuning. So this is important. Like if there's one takeaway, like I want to show you guys that debugging it is, like you guys will turn it on, you're like, it doesn't work. And so how do you resolve it? So what I do when I'm trying to figure things out, like what's going on with the AI, I turn off hide cancel alerts because I want to see everything on my clip list. It's easier, once you see everything, it's easier to understand what's going on. Okay. So take advantage of BI functionality, turn off hide cancel alerts, leverage your clip list to get all the information coming back from AI. Like understand what's going on right here. And the way you do that is by just looking at your clip list. Okay. Use motion detection fine tuning. There's already part of Blue Iris, and use continuous recording. So when I'm debugging, like I just continuously record and I'll look at the cameras and like, wait, that was missed. And so I may write down that timestamp, and then if I can't debug it at that moment, I might go back later, right? So that's why I have continuous recording on. Like, if you don't have continuous recording on, you'll definitely get, you can still debug to some extent, right? You can still debug what is recorded. So if you can still debug if you got a canceled alert and why you got canceled, and you can tweak when you find alerts. You can still do that. However, like suppose a motion trigger missed. Like the motion trigger isn't, you got to just debug both sides. It's not just the AI, but it's also the motion triggers, right? So if you don't have continuous, you don't know if you ever missed anything. Okay, so that's why I put continuous on. So You can start with continuous off and fine tune this stuff first, which is fine. Get a handle for AI and how it complements your trigger settings. But then afterwards, to really debug it, you have to go to continuous so that you can find out all the times that even your motion triggers missed. Okay, so once you do that with the settings, it's really easy. Okay, so where are we? Down here, fine tuning. So once you do these three things, it's really simple. So like in Blue Iris, like I can go back to my alert. I can play this, right? Here's a canceled one. Do 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 do. So this is canceled, but this van seems pretty clear to me, right? So I suspect that, I don't know, but I suspect that the AI would have caught it easily, but my motion settings didn't trigger it. And so how do I know? So I would just go, so where am I? This is the playback window. All right, this is not the live view. This is a live view, just to keep something in, just to have some bearings of what you're doing like mentally. Like this is a live view window. Like if I turn these cameras on, like you'll see the live view. As soon as you click on something on a clip list, it's coming from the recordings, from the files that are on your system. It's like the data that Blue Iris stored, right? So now you're at the playback window. Okay, so the X is a good indication of that, but just to have that concept between live versus playback is important. So once you're in playback, you can do right click, and so I have substreams, right? So I know, I'm experienced obviously with Blue Iris, so like I know that the motion detection is based off of the substream, so that's why I have this checked. If I don't have this checked, it's going to be the live view, and this is totally messed up because I know that the motion annotations is not based off of this image. It's based off of the substream. So keep that in mind. And then you just turn it on, like run video through settings. What's this going to do? What this does is like whatever your current settings are for that camera, it's going to be applied visually. Ta-da! So actually motion was detected here, but the AI said no. So now so like this is a great example of like now like AI is not perfect. However, you can maybe alter your thresholds. Like Ken's still working on this part. Like how do you know what the threshold was at this point for this AI? It's not in the product yet, but it will be. And like once you know what that threshold is, you'll know, like now you know how to lower it. Okay, so Blue Iris found the motion, it triggered, but AI didn't say this was a car or a van. Okay. Wow, that's kind of a cool example, like real time. I just picked a random clip. All right, so fine tuning. So like play with it, like like the product has a lot of powerful stuff just to like understand how things are working as well as fine tuning it. So definitely play with it. All right, I'm gonna close. I'm almost done here. What time is it? 9:08. Okay, not too bad. With some gotchas, you guys always like the gotchas. So front door camera. So like, how do you find the porch pirates without triggering on all the cars, right? So, and this is a shout out to one of our users who, he walked me through it. And another case where you guys provide a lot of insights to make the product better. So here's his front door, like you got this huge street, you got the sidewalk, all this stuff. And all he wants to know is like, when are the porch pirates stealing my Amazon deliveries, right? So most of you guys would say like, give me alerts right in front of the door. Now, the problem with that is the guy's walking up, right? And then his feet are going to hit right here. And so the camera's going to trigger. And so that image, because you only put a zone in front of the house, like all you're going to see in the image is his feet and the ground. Like you don't see the dude, right? So the AI is going to say, no, nothing found. Okay. So that's the issue. So how do you fix it? So he already fixed it. So he put a zone B. And this is in general, like for all the triggers, you put a zone A first, like, and if you go back to the triggers and alerts webinar, you'll see this as well. Like you define the overall area of interest for the camera. And so, I mean, do you have to go to the horizon, like the sky? Probably not. You can probably lower it to like here, like if you're getting noise or something, but if you're not getting any noise, you can just leave it always at the top. Like this might be a little bit more than needed, but it's plenty good. So what does this do? So once you got the area of interest, and then once you got this, so this will tell the camera to trigger at this point. And this is going to tell the camera to look at the entire scene, not just the ground. And so then the entire image goes into Blue Iris. Blue Iris is obviously going to pick the guy up, and then boom, it's alerted. Ta-da. All right, pretty cool. And this user was very helpful too. Like he played with the AI. I gotta have a front door camera, but he played with AI. And I haven't confirmed this, but he says another gotcha is like if you have them both on, and it doesn't happen in parallel. And what I mean by that is, if person is found, and it'll just alert on the person. Like it won't go to the facial part. Like I think most people would think the way I thought. Like if you had them both checked, if you found a person first, then you would continue on to find the face. But DeepStack doesn't do that currently, or maybe it does, or maybe we gotta do some more investigation, TBD. But what he stated was, if the person's found, it'll just send the person without doing the facial detection. So, and the way he found that out was he turned off person, and then it went to straight to face. So either way, we'll solve this. Like, you know, Ken's already working on it, but just another potential gotcha that might be out there. That's DeepStack with Blue Iris, guys. All right, we got a lot of chats, we got a lot of questions, so let's open it up to raise hands, and Ken, chime in now if there's some questions that you thought were should be shared with the group. Okay, where's the raise hands?
We've answered several questions already, and there are several more in there. People are asking to review this later. I just want to tell everybody it's on the YouTube channel. It will be on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/Blue Iris Support.
Yes. Where's the raise hands thing? Oh, I gotta find it now. All right, let me stop share and see if I find it. I can't find it right now. There we go, raise hands. Okay. Pascal, I'll just open up everybody, and whoever chimes in first. Allowed to talk, Pascal.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I want to know if the session will be on somewhere for replay, and if we have the link in the question answer.
The Q&A we don't usually. We can, you know, it should be fine. I'll review the Q&A just if I want to publish that or not. I'll just confirm that. I'm not sure yet, but as far as the recording, I am recording, so I didn't forget to record, so which is good. And let me just share where to find the recording. So you go to a YouTube channel, YouTube Blue Iris Support, and then so Blue Iris Support in YouTube is where we keep all the recordings.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Pascal. Where did every time I screen share, I can't find the raise hands window. It's so annoying. Is it here? Oh, here we go. That's a chat. Okay, I gotta stop share. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Jeff Hirschfield, allowed to talk. Jeff, you're muted. Brett.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Hey, Jeff.
Okay, sorry. Thanks. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Can DeepStack be self-contained on your local machine, or it does require a cloud connection?
No, that's one of the biggest value adds of DeepStack is you install it on your machine and yeah, so it's 100% on-prem.
Because I noticed that you mentioned something about opening a port for it.
No, well, no, not really. Blue Iris requires. Let me just revisit that. It's a good question.
The way, let me explain that. The way DeepStack works, it runs as another process on your PC and it communicates using a port. It's just used locally. It's not.
Okay.
Does not need to be exposed to the internet or anything like that.
All
Exactly.
right, that clears that up. Thanks. Then I had another question. From one of your earlier webinars, I picked up a really good tip from you where I was able to have a daytime schedule and a nighttime profile and different settings for my triggers. Can I do that with DeepStack also?
Oh yeah. Let me double check. I think so, right? I haven't played with that part, but I think so. Ken, can you confirm?
I picked the wrong time to read something else. Please repeat the question.
You can have different AI settings for different profiles, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
on the trigger tab, and the trigger tab is based on profile.
Oh, perfect. Okay. One last question. I saw an option there. I guess I was reading the chats at the time about a burn markup something in the options.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about during my presentation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You want me to revisit that feature?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I missed that. What was the burn markup option?
That's adding the rectangles, the colored rectangles and the labels to the image.
Ah,
yeah, that's
okay. All right, perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Brett, allowed to talk.
Yeah, I just had a question about when you're recording or when DeepStack actually detects and it gets triggered. On my alerts tab, like I get the alerts, but I don't get the recording tab. When I set it to when alerted, it doesn't record anything. So like the when alerted under recording doesn't get triggered. I don't know if that's a bug or and I know that DeepStack's working and stuff like that because I get it triggers my alerts, but anyway.
Wait, what are you saying now? Like, well,
under the recording tab, under the camera setting, when you go to right there, yeah, when you change the when triggered to when alerted under the video.
Does it work okay when it's at when triggered? Does it start recording?
It does, yeah. So when I change that to when alerted, yeah, like I said, it does not record anything.
And if Sam, go look at the alerts tab. Are you triggering based on motion?
Yes.
So make sure that motion box is checked here. Trigger sources and alerts. So it has to be checked, and then the correct zone has to be checked. Yeah, that would have to happen. Otherwise, please send us maybe the camera settings export and we could spot the issue.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. That's all I had.
okay. Why can't I see the, gosh, this is so annoying. Oh, here we go. All right, Kiri, allowed to talk.
Yeah, hi there. I just wanted to ask, I did miss some of this session today. Is this going to go on the YouTube channel, this whole session from today?
Yeah, for sure. We'll get it up there and much quicker than we've done in the past. So yes.
All right, brilliant. Because I had something came up and I missed quite a bit of it. And I just wanted to ask you guys, is there a tutorial or anything like in a document or anything that like takes you step by step on how to implement this DeepStack feature? Is that documentation?
Like more than the documentation I just created? Like, is this?
Yeah,
is
well,
this-
I mean, look, to be honest with you, I did miss some of this presentation, so I don't know. I'll have to review it once you put it onto YouTube. I was just wondering if there's something I can reference, because I looked at DeepStack, and apparently you need to install something which is open source first, and then kind of incorporate that into Blue Iris, right?
Yeah, so you definitely go to DeepStack and do the install of the Windows version. So
Yeah.
100%. So I talk about, this is the documentation with this webinar. So,
Okay, brilliant.
and this is on the forum. And I talk about installation. I just glossed over it, but the details are here as well. So this is where you
Okay, so
download it from
Blue Iris-
Windows.
blueiris.com forum, and I'll just, okay, cool. Anyway, what I'll do, once you put this on YouTube, I'll revisit and then look at it in detail. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Blue Iris forum.
So just just as a review, so you go to the forum, Blue Iris forum, tips and tricks, and today's content is DeepStack plus Blue Iris Advanced. Okay.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kiri. Alan, allowed to talk.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Two questions I think I have might turn into three. The person who spoke, I think 2 questions ago about the OnAlert not working, I saw something weird happening when I first started playing with this, and it seemed like I was having the same issue that it was detecting but not recording, and it seemed like I went in and played with the first 2 checkboxes in the AI, the fire on alert actions only when confirmed, and the fire non-email SMS push regardless. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but it seemed like when I played with combinations of whether I had one or both of those checked, that's when it, and I may have also been toggling the apply to motion triggers only. That's where I got that to start working for the on alert recording. So it may have been that I had the zones that when I had motion triggers checked, the zones weren't set up right. There was something you covered, and I lost the track there when you were doing it. You showed the picture about how you could set up a motion zone that's going to pick out the walkway and not the street behind. So it's only going to be basically getting people's feet. What I missed though was if I want to alert on a person there, but obviously if that is the mask for the AI, it's not going to see enough of the person to see a person. Do you currently have a solution for how I can say if there's motion in that red box, but there's a person in a taller box, that's when I want my alert action to happen, my SMS, or is there a solution to do that now?
So what's wrong with all right, so what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish?
So the problem is that since if there's motion there,
right.
I don't want to fire on a person. Look to the top left of that image. There's like another driveway behind a bush, right where your mouse is, right? I don't want a squirrel running through this box to cause an alert on a person standing back there. So I want motion in this box to say something's happening on my walkway. But I do need to, once I've got motion here, I do need to have the AI not throw out a person where it only sees their feet, right? Because the AI is also going to use the zone as a mask, but I really need my mask to be bigger than my motion zone in this case. Does that make sense?
And so, that's why there's a zone A that's why you have a zone A that takes the entire field of view.
So walk me through how that's set up then. I say I have the camera set up for trigger on motion of zone B, right?
Exactly. So
okay, and then I say on alert, so I can have that be the trigger, but then when I get to the alert actions, I can say fire this SMS alert only on zone A. So will that do the workflow I want? It won't even happen unless zone B was triggered, but then it'll mask on zone A.
Oh no, it's even more simple. So like your area of interest is zone B, right? Okay.
Right.
So all you have to do is in your trigger, motion sensors. So based off of that scenario, I would go to object detection. I would just put trigger on zone B. That's all you have to do. Okay. Now, why it will work is because once you do that, all you've done is said like, I just want to get, only time I get an alert from this camera is if something happens in zone B. But when something happens in zone B, you want to look at the entire scene because you need to look at the entire scene to find the person, right? So that's why you just have a zone A. So this is telling Blue Iris, like this is, so when Blue Iris analyzes an image, it's the overlap of all the zones. So if zone A is defined as the entire area of interest of the camera, and zone B is a subset of that, basically what Blue Iris is going to analyze is the entire area of interest, okay? You get that?
Yeah, I do. I think I don't want to tie up too much time here. My use case is a little more complicated because I'm trying to use one camera. It sees a walkway and a street, and I want one thing to happen with cars going by, another with people. So, I know I can fix it with clone. I'm just wondering whether I can do it all in one camera. But I'll keep playing with it.
One thing to keep in mind is that the alert won't be confirmed unless it overlaps with something that emotion and the object in DeepStack. So even if you're triggering on zone B and the object that you're detecting is a person walking up the drive, it's going to find him because he's moving. It's going to find that face, it's going to confirm on that, but it will not trigger on the person in your background driveway, the other neighbor's driveway, because there was no motion there.
Okay.
It needs to overlap where there was motion.
Right, but there is a masking. How much of the detected object needs to be inside the mask zone for it to fire? Are you doing a percentage? It has to be 50% in the box when DeepStack returns the object?
You actually nailed the number. It is 50%.
Okay.
The documentation states it's substantial, but it is 50 or more. Yeah.
Okay. And one last thing. Can you just give some kind of general idea of what kind of resources are obviously we can do it by trial and error. It's going to vary on different computers, but in analyzing more images, what kind of resources are we looking at? For instance, if I decide to take it from on that, analyze 3 images, 1 every second, and I decide to push that up to 15 images, right? Analyzing 5 times as many images every time there's motion on this camera. Is it fairly efficient, or is it and is that resource coming from the DeepStack end or the Blue Iris end when we start cranking up the number of images analyzed?
Yeah, sure. There are a number of variables. I mean, there's the resolution of the image, and then there's there's a setting in DeepStack for your low, medium, or high processing complexity, and then the number of images that you're sending, and then whether or not you're using the GPU version or the CPU version. I mean, really, and then if you're using CPU, there are more variables there. So really, you're look at the processing time in milliseconds that Blue Iris posts to the log, and you can kind of get an idea of how efficient it is at that point.
Okay. Is it fair to say it's probably more efficient? I was using the AI tool external, and I'm trying to start transitioning things over just to keep it self-contained. Is it fair to say that the way you're sending the images up to DeepStack is more efficient than writing JPEGs and having AI tool have to pick them up after they've been written, or is it equivalent?
It's immensely more efficient to do it this way because it's all within the pipeline of Blue Iris. It doesn't have to write files, read files, all that stuff. So.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Thank you, Ellen. Tim, allowed to talk. Tim McFadden.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you are.
I just had a question, and I just noticed it. Maybe it's the newer version, might have been there before, but the immediate actions when triggered. So does that I initially set it all up and configured that, and I was getting alerts for everything. So that just ignores the AI. Is that what that does?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, initially that was to be called pre-AI actions, but not everyone uses the AI, so means different things. So it fires immediately and then starts the AI. So if you want to do anything immediately upon trigger, you can do that. Like maybe it's, you know, maybe not take a snapshot, but open the gates was a good example. Or, you know, make some sound of some sort just to say processing is started. I mean, there are some MQTT commands to your home automation system. You do pretty much anything.
Okay.
And turn the lights on, yeah.
One other question, you mentioned it, the add alerts to list database only. Is there any benefit or downside to just doing database only? Or is really the point of that just to, like if I do high res image, it's still sent into the database as well, right? But it's just another copy of it, I guess?
You select to go to the database only, it's going to use the substream for AI if you have configured dual streams. So that's really your decision to make right there. Do you want the AI to use substream or mainstream? It's done right here.
So database only is a substream and then everything else is going to be the mainstream?
That's correct, yeah.
Is there any benefit to using the mainstream? Obviously the mainstream is going to be a little bit more clear or a better picture.
Well, it's using a bit more resource, you know, to communicate with the AI. But if you have that resource to spare, then it is more accurate for the AI to have a high-res image. So there's that little trade-off there. I mean, it would be on a system-by-system basis. You know, some people, when they're doing dual streams, that means 8 megapixels. And, you know, that's versus a 4 megapixel camera. So there's trade-offs you have to make for efficiency.
Okay, that clears it up. Thanks.
Since this topic came up, like another thing I want to clear up is like, oftentimes like this is all that Blue Iris really cares about. Like this is how these things get annotated. The other stuff is really for the user. Like these are all hard copies to the hard drive. So like the default is database only. So like for 99% of you guys, like the alerts folder is always going to be empty. Where's the alerts folder? I don't have it. Let me pick it up. So if I go to my Blue Iris, this PCG Blue Iris folder, only reason my alerts folder is populated is because I was playing with the different things, but I can delete all this. Like I can just delete it and nothing's going to happen to Blue Iris. All right, like nothing gets deleted. So my point here is like the alerts folder is mostly for you guys for particular reasons. Like if you want hard copies of these alerts, if you want hard copies of the images, that's why most people choose anything beyond database only. And why would they? And so what's a common use case? Like when Ken built the export to MP4, that was primarily for like the guys that have like 7-Elevens, and they're like, "Hey Sam, like we get all these tickets where like, hey Sam, suppose somebody browsed my store and then they asked for the DVR and they smashed the Blue Iris machine, and then I have no recordings, right? They're all broke. The guy broke it, right? So for those types of things, we need hard copies and immediately go to the cloud. We built this solution so that it exports to MP4, and so it goes. So all these clips goes to the hard drive in the alerts folder, and then those users would have this going to their cloud storage solution, like Dropbox or Box. Like I use Box for my personal files. So like this folder would be synced to the cloud immediately, and so those are the types of reasons why you would go beyond database only. And the most common reasons is you want hard copies for whatever reason. And so that's kind of like the way these things came out.
That's awesome.
Okay, so that was good. Let's see, next question. Peter, allowed to talk. Peter Huber, allowed to talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, it's okay. I'll solve the problem. While I was listening to you guys, I had the IR switched off onto auto. It was sitting on another setting. So when I switched it over, just a quick question, something different. When you click on, let's say, your icon or your camera, right down the bottom, you've got hardware property pages. What is that?
Where are you looking?
Okay, if you click on I've got 10 cameras, right? If you click on
Oh.
a camera, cameras, yeah, right down the bottom, hardware property pages. There's never, even in version 2, 3, and 4, and 5, it's nothing's ever been in that box.
Peter,
Although
that only applies to USB cameras.
Oh, only applies to USB. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I might email you, Sam, sometime in the next couple of days, because I've got cameras in Switzerland and in France, and I'm in Australia here. And I remember you talking about 2 streams. Now, I can't quite get my head around streams 1 or 2. Perhaps you can help me out a little bit on that sometime during the week. Is that okay?
Yeah, no worries, Peter. Just yeah, I mean, I do that all day, so no worries. Just send me a ticket. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And Sam, you got to turn a little, speak a little bit slower. Very hard for us Aussies to understand you, mate.
Sorry about that. I appreciate the feedback. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I'm
Wind it
nervous.
back. Are you nervous? Come on.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, Troy, allowed to talk.
Great.
Just a question about the burn to image.
Right.
I don't seem to be getting those on my push notifications. Is that only on certain notifications or alerts?
You're talking about this, right? Burn label?
Yeah. Yep.
This is a hard copy, so this goes in your exports folder. That image, like, you know, like these alerts, like that, this image will be placed in your alerts folder.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. It should be included for the email and SMS. So if it's not, my first question, are you on the latest version? And maybe send us your settings again to look at to support.
Well, it might be on those two. I haven't tested those, but just the push notifications straight to the Blue Iris app. I haven't seen them on there. Okay, guys.
I'll double check that. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, that might. Yeah, I mean, I got, you know, you saw my my screenshots. Like I get them, so there must be a settings issue. We can you just open up a ticket and we can figure that out.
Yeah, and I do see them in the app.
Oh,
in the list of my alerts, but I don't see when I get the the alert in the iOS notification area, and you hold on it to
play it,
enlarge it, then I don't see it there.
And
it's the few images that it includes in the iOS alert that are missing them.
Yeah, that's the Sam. That's called the rich or 3D alert image that's sent with the push notification. So yeah, we'll have to test that. It's not what you're showing here.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry. All right.
Thanks.
Okay, John Egan, allowed to talk. Hey, John.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon. This is John Egan. Thank you for taking my question. I know we're over the time. To confirm, Sam, the last webinar is where you guys introduced DeepStack with that AI tools thing in between Blue Iris and DeepStack. Do I understand correctly that this eliminates that AI tools, and Ken, you've written all that into Blue Iris?
Yeah, that's 100%. So Ken took all of that, and like that AI tool stuff is in Blue Iris right now. So it just makes life a lot easier for you guys. So all you have to do is install DeepStack.
And you got it.
Tell DeepStack where to point. Tell Blue Iris where to point to find DeepStack, and then just hit start. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't yet tried that because that was a bit more involved. It was going to take a little bit more time. So I'm going to just go ahead and do this.
Yeah, we get a lot of positive feedback that like, thank you. This is like so much easier. So
It looks
Um,
fantastic.
There should be, yeah, this should help a lot, a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And then, all right, yeah, you're right, it's 9:40. So we'll do the last question. Sean, allowed to talk.
Unmute. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Appreciate you taking the time. New user to Blue Iris. And I've got AI up and running. It's running great, by the way, for those of you on the call. I'm a new guy and fantastic. My question is this. I upgraded to, I believe it's 5.4, the latest version, and I'm getting extreme latency now when recording starts. I put a comment in about mode to understand that better for the AI tool itself. But what happens is I've got continuous recording, but as soon as it triggers, when it senses something, the system almost locks up on recording, and there's a delay where the box is behind the moving target. And I'm struggling with it because the CPU shoots up to over 25%, where it's typically running around 2% with 2 cameras. Just hoping you could give me some guidance on what I've done likely, or what may have happened between builds, but it's just very, very slow for a brief second.
Okay, so I'll give you, from what you said, I know one issue, and for the other ones, you probably have to open up a ticket to like for us to dive into it. But like the delayed, that's a very common thing. So I'll just show you that. So like when you're doing playback, come on.
Yeah, and I've got a 7-second buffer where it's recording MP4s to email to me. I suspect that may be related too, as well as an SMS notification.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables there. I can't digest that all that right
Yeah,
now.
no worries.
But for the playback, like keep in mind, like when you anytime you do playback and you do I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna turn add motion overlays. So you'll see the overlays.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. But now if I go to the mainstream, like it won't be in sync because all the motion is based off the substream. So if I turn this off, well, this one it's fairly close, but in general, that's what the problem is. Like you're overlaying the motion on top of the high resolution instead of where it's being used. Like we do the motion off of substreams. So that then like, you know, exactly, it's all lined up. But if you play the motion overlays on the mainstream, which is not being used for motion, like this box may be like over here somewhere.
That's what's happening, Sam. Yeah, okay, you hit the nail on the head. So the box is actually on the high-res images. I take about 5 or 6 over the period that it happens, and the box is trailing behind the person or the car.
Exactly.
Okay.
So just make sure you have used substream so that it'll line up then.
Okay, awesome. But it's working great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sean. And any other, so we have the Sentry folks online. Any other questions for Sentry before we close this?
No, there's no reason.
Sam, I just have one last one. It's not for Sentry. Did I catch a reference that there's going to be a feature coming soon to allow us to see the confidence levels of things that did not alert in DeepStack? Meaning if I have a confidence level of 50% on a person, that it'll say nothing found, but it'll say 35% person was there.
Nothing.
Right now, yeah, those are all being muted, basically. When I run it for testing here in my office, I get like 15 different things. It says a clock, a mouse, a keyboard, whatever. So it's, you know, it's a little overkill. But yeah, especially if it's only 30%. I mean, that's, you know, I wouldn't even. I've seen it show things like 30% for a person, and it's actually like a part of a shelf or something. It just. At that level, it really is not very accurate.
It would just be very useful for fine-tuned debugging without having to do it the opposite way of turning it down and then easing it up.
Oh, here's what you do. Here's what you do. I think they are all shown if you go to the viewer and take a snapshot from any video or from a camera, and there's a new option in there, right-click, run through DeepStack, basically, and it will, that should show everything.
Wait, Jody put that in there? Can we demo that?
Yeah, just for a snapshot. It's not for a live video, but you can take a snapshot from a video and run it through there.
Oh. Okay, so if I play it, all right, I think I can create a snapshot and okay. All right, I'll add to the article as part of the debugging, the fine tuning section. So you guys will have that as well.
That's not from the playback of the video. It's from a still. I have to take a still snapshot. When I go to do that, it's asking me to save it to the disk. Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah. You need to save it before you do the analysis on it. Yeah. Or you just from a live camera view in the main interface, use the camera snapshot icon at the top of the camera window, and then it will open in the viewer automatically. Then just right-click and select the run through.
Oh wait, where's the snapshot? Here it is.
Yeah, well, you should enable that camera. It's inactive right now.
Right. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through it. I gotta play with it myself. I haven't done it. So. So more to come. Like I guess we'll close on that, but like there's more debugging functionality that's gonna be added to the product, and I'll definitely add it to the documentation here, and then we'll just go from there. Yeah. Okay, it's 9:45. I guess we'll close it. So thanks, guys. It was a good discussion. We're learning a lot, and appreciate all the feedback as always. Happy Friday. Ken, closing thoughts? Ian, closing thoughts?
Once again, just want to say thanks everybody for joining us today, and this super exciting topic, even for me, as you may be able to tell, as there's a daily update pretty much right now. So more to come. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you everyone for joining. So very excited to work with Blue Irish and all of you.
Okay, bye everybody.
Thank you all.